Everybody, welcome back to Pop Up Car. Still mostly the electrical. Haven't heard back from the electrician. Some practical things, a bunch of people out there gave us really good suggestions on what to ask. I think based on what they're saying, we need to identify what this is. So the first thing we're going to do is get the test. So get going. Okay, so I've got my meter set on AC volts. One of the first things they told me to check was comment against the ground and see if I've got power. And that'll tell me if there's a short somewhere in the common line, which is what the EV controller was saying. That there was give that a shot. So we go from the common over here to the ground. And we are showing no voltage. So on this particular setup, when I go to a hotline, like for example, I go to one side of my 220 here, I go to my common, I don't get any voltage. If I go to the other side, I get 120 volts. When I go to the other hot side and I go to the common, I get nothing. But if I go over to my ground, I get nothing on that one either. Let's try that one. Ground, I'll start to get hot, the common. On one side, I get nothing. Go to the other side, I get 120 volts. Let's see, the one. Okay, so this circuit is working. Okay, so this circuit is working fine. This side is working fine. So if I go to the hot side of the breaker and go to my common, I have 120 volts. Which is normal, correct? If I'm doing something I don't know. If I go from here to here, when this is working, I get 120, or I'm sorry, yeah, I only get 120 volts there. This side, yeah, I'm thinking backwards, but if I go to my one of my hot ends, black, I go to common, get nothing. Get 120 volts on this. So the two of them, get 120 volts. So now I'm not getting power to the one side at all. Check something. Go this side, go to common, get nothing. Go this side to the ground, get nothing. So that leg is out now. I'm very strange, but it was in last week. So, and I'm getting power on the other side. Okay, so I'm not getting into that. Fine, this is a GFI circuit. If I go to the other side, and I go to the common, Nothing. This side, 120. This one, nothing. This one, 120. This one, nothing. This one, 120. This one, nothing. Every other breaker I'm getting power. But on both sides of it, it's not working. For some reason or another. I find it weird because I was getting power both legs last week. This week I'm not. It's clear. It goes back, and then it goes back to the main. So I'm going to have to go back to that main and see what's going on. I did this one. Nothing there. Nothing there. I'm not getting anything off that leg from the house. Now I need to go into the house and figure out what's going on because that leg was working. So the red light is working, the black light is not. That's completely different than what last week because the other leg, the black leg was working as long as we went between the hot and the black common, sorry, the ground, I was getting a signal. Getting voltage. So, this is very. So hopefully when the electrician comes, he can figure this out. But yeah, now we've lost that leg from the house. And that leg was yesterday. So I'm wondering if one half that circuit went out inside the house. Or there's a bad breaker. That was a brand new breaker. So, never know. Never know. So, let's keep investigating and be right back with you. So we're to begin with the nightmare of some guy on the next issue that we had in the garage. Sent out a yell for help to everybody out there, and a lot of this video covers the installation that some guy did in putting this panel in. Not meaning what we've done on our side, because there was a lot of input from all you guys about, well, it sounds like the EV, or it sounds like this, or it sounds like that, and some of you were spot on, and a couple of you even hinted towards something that could possibly be wrong. It ended up being the difference of this and this. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I didn't cover it in the video themselves, I had opened up this panel, and then you've got your two hots coming in, each 120 and totaling 240, and then your common. Well, I was getting 120 on both sides and the common, and then the 120 would be gone and I would only have it on one side, and then I would have it on the other side. If I flipped one of the breakers that were on the right side, I would end up with 240 on that side and nothing on the other, and vice versa on the panel, and it couldn't figure out what the heck it was. Now the hint should have been the EV controller. The EV controller, when it basically shut itself off, it didn't shut itself off, but it put itself in safe mode, I guess you'd call it, computer-wise, and said there's an issue with your common. And so I busted my brains trying to figure out what's wrong. I went through every bit of wiring that I did thinking I made a mistake. And guess what? I didn't. It had nothing to do with what I did. Basically, all the upgrades that I've done in the garage and all the repairs that I've done in the garage weren't the problem. The problem was between the main panel and here. And I'll show you here in a minute what caused that problem. For you electricians out there, thumbs up to you guys. A lot of you were really, really close to what was going on. And I will tell you, it was not the electrical company. It had nothing to do with the outside panel, even though the first it broke down and I brought in an electrician. It took him less than an hour to figure out what's wrong. He traced it, figured it out in a couple of minutes, and I should have known because I saw it first, and I should have checked, and I didn't. So let's go down and I'll show you the final solution to this thing. So as you may have seen in my prior videos, I have replaced and corrected a lot of issues with this panel. The first thing I did was I increased the amperage to the garage to 60 because we have two 20 amp circuits that are not being used. One of them I repurposed. They had the air conditioner tapped right into the main line. So I repurposed this 40 amp for the air conditioner so that we weren't just twisted onto the main lines coming into the house, which was ridiculous in itself. The second is I've got the stove circuit that we also don't need anymore because we don't run an electric stove anymore. So starting with this circuit right here, we have our heavy duty cable running up, this one right here, running up to the garage. This is a very, very heavy duty cable, almost, I can't remember if it's 1/8 or whatever it is, but it's the one level down from the main coming in. And it runs across the ceiling, and it's all up into the wiring like it should be, you know, all tucked up in there real nice and everything. Although it's not attached to the 2x4s as it should be, it is running all the way through here, and then up in here it takes a turn. So we've got, this is our main line, so this is where you start your troubleshooting, and this is where the electrician did, is he wanted to see junction boxes. And I should have known, because when I touched that junction box, I got a spark. I was touching the white and I got a little bitty spark, and I thought, well, maybe it's because there's electrical going on out there. And what I ended up doing was popping every single light bulb in that side of the house, with the exception of the garage. But a bunch of the light bulbs that were turned on, we lost them all. Also lost my stereo system. It took it out. I mean, it even burned the ceramic fuse, so I have to order a new one. But this is what did it. Again, some guy. They had some guy coming into it. So as you'll see, this is our garage wire here. As you see, they drilled the holes and they brought it through the studs, probably like you should, but they didn't put any plates on or anything to stop anybody from screwing up into them, which is kind of a thing. It is open beams, but you should, no matter what you do, have those so that you don't puncture pipes or what have you. So we've got our wiring running over here, and it comes around the corner here, and then it goes into this junction box. This is where many of you were right. This is where the issue was. So let me move you over there, and let me show you the nightmare that was this junction box. So first off, I'm going to apologize for this light in your eyes. It's the only way I can light this box so that you can see it without dragging lighting down here, and I really don't want to. We come back across here. Here's our main wire coming from the box to our junction box. A few things you'll notice about the junction box is the wire just comes in, and then the wire just goes out. There's no retainers, no nothing on this, nothing holding this all together. They had these caps, these little tiny caps. Remember how I had the great big ones? And those of you who are the electricians know these are not made for this heavy-duty wiring. These caps are, or something of that nature. When I reached up, these were on here on the wiring, and then they were tape wrapped. So that's indicator number 2. Electrician doesn't know what he's doing. Don't put electrical tape on these, because then you can't see when there's a problem. So as we come up, and I'm moving these wires around because it's like somebody said, check the junction box. So I did. The white wire was sparking. As it was sparking, things came on in the garage upstairs, just enough to spike and take out the light bulbs. And of course, my stereo, and I think the light on our tortoise cage, all that stuff, just man. Needless to say, they had used these tiny little caps to screw these wires together. And mind you, even before I upped it to 60 amps, this were 50 amp circuit, and they're using these little teeny tiny wire nuts. When they took apart, let me find the one, if I can find it here. I may have already thrown it away. When he took the electrical tape off of the common, it just fell off, and the wires weren't even touching. So this was our issue. Some guy wired this, and he wired it wrong. And I'm coming back to redo all of this. He did this temporarily just so we had the power back and all that fun stuff. This is good enough, but again, this box is not safe. It doesn't have anything holding the wire on this end, anything holding the wire on this end. It's just in the box, wire tied, and that's it. And then from here on out to the garage, at least along the floor here or along the ceiling, it's just hanging, meaning they didn't even tack it up or run wires. There are holes there for it and everything. And whoever did this came in and didn't bother to put this wire back through all these holes to keep it up off of this, up off the ceiling. Now, can you get away with it? That's fine, you can, but why? Why would you do that? Now, here's the second part of it. Just to show you, this is one of the wires. You see that burnt stuff? That was on one of the hots, meaning it was definitely an issue. It was arcing so much so that it actually burned the connector and burned it up. And there were more than one. There's debris on all of these wires because somebody didn't know what the heck they were doing. And these are, it's unbelievable, but once again, some guy strikes again. Some guy wired this house, or at least portions of this house, didn't know what they were doing. Just because you know how to twist wires doesn't mean you know what you're doing. If you're not doing it safe, don't do it at all, because this could have burned my house down. Could have taken out my garage. Could have hurt the ones that I love. Could have hurt my pets. If you don't know what you're doing, get out of there and stop doing it and get someone that knows what they're doing. Like I said, and like you'll see with the videos, you can see the frustration level. On Sunday, I was just so frustrated, I wanted to pound something. And then I finally said, hey, anybody out there, refer me to an electrician to come see me today, because mine couldn't come for another week. And so somebody said, hey, try this guy. Well, this guy came in, he looked at the box, he goes, I don't understand this. Once again, like I said, I'd flip a breaker one way, it'd be 220 on one side. If I flip the breaker the other way, it would be 220 on the other side. But it was all jacked up, as I'll show you, as you saw in the videos. But this was the problem. So anytime you're running through the electrical, and this kind of goes to the electricians, he was baffled for a little bit. And then when he came in here and saw the tape on there, he knew somebody did what they weren't supposed to do, especially when he saw these little tiny caps on there. The one saving grace, I have all the proper wiring for this, all the wiring caps and all that fun stuff. So that definitely saved the day. I've got my garage back. We had to buy a bunch of light bulbs, but for the most part, I've got my garage back. Everything's working properly. EV system's working back to normal again. Everything is back to normal. And now this is a more safe, secure. Am I coming back in and redoing all this? Oh yeah. Being down here in the basement, there are a bunch of things in the laundry room here I see that are wrong that need to be fixed. And so I am going to fix all of that. When I come down here, I've got the proper, you guys know those nice big ones where they've got the dielectric grease in them. You put them in and you tighten them down. I've got a set of those for this. So we're going to get this wired right. We're going to replace this box with a proper box. We're going to rewire this and put it up through the rafters like it should be. That way it's not hanging down like it is right now. And we're going to do it right in this whole laundry room. So that's a video that's going to be upcoming. But for now, here's what the problem was. And yeah, you guys out there that said, hey, check your comments, check your, this, check your that. You guys are absolutely right. I want to thank you guys all for your help, your support in fixing this. You definitely made his job and my job easier, because I was able to isolate exactly what was going on so that I could articulate it to him what I'm seeing, and he was able to take his meter and trace down what it was. And once again, starting with the beginning, when I saw those sparks, I should have known. There was tape on them. I should have peeled it back. If I'd have peeled back that tape, that common would have fallen right off, and that would have told me this is what's going on. But reason the power came on for a minute was because I touched those two. I pushed up on that wire, and the commons touched, and I got power. So with that, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Definitely put in your comments. My wife suggested that I ask you guys, hey, if you run into one of these issues, or any issue where some guy, we'll call it, did something at your house, send me that video. I'll be happy to put it up on my channel. And we'll call it, we'll do an offshoot, call it some guy's repairs, you know what I mean, or something of that nature. So again, with that, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.